Alright guys, it's Mike from the Kodi outlet. Once again, this is episode 3. This will be the first part in what I believe will probably be a few-part series with regards to Kodi and add-on usage. So this is probably why a lot of you have come to this channel, looking for help with how to use an add-on in Kodi. Maybe you're having a problem with an add-on that came pre-installed on, say, an Android TV box that you bought online, because a lot of them these days are putting Kodi front and center as their means to allow you to get content. And that is kind of why those add-ons are there. In episode 2, I showed you how you can have Kodi point to various media files on your computer. I mentioned that you can also use Kodi to point to media files that might be somewhere else on your network. So you're pointing basically to a server location in your home, or in maybe like an office building or whatever the case may be. You may have a server on a different floor in your house. It has terabytes of content of media. You have a computer downstairs in the basement and you want to be able to access it. So you tell Kodi, look to this location to gain access to this media. In today's episode, I'm going to show you that add-ons and how they work. An add-on is basically the same concept. It's a pointer to a location that's not in your house, not in your office building, but it's a server location that could be somewhere else in the world. And it points over there and it says, I need access to that content. Just like how in episode 2 you point to an area on your computer saying I want access to this content. What the add-ons will do is it'll have a predetermined location built into it. And when you install it into that Kodi, it'll say, hey, over there, 3 countries over, is a server farm with information on it that has stuff of interest to me. I want access to that. And that's how it works. So I'm going to show, first off, some of the default add-ons you have access to, because Kodi itself, when it comes to the whole aspect of add-ons, like I mentioned before, when you start bringing in software from other sources, Kodi is a bit of a gray area in being able to support it for you, because sometimes the issue isn't with Kodi, it's with the software that you've brought in. Kodi does have some partners out there that have built add-ons for use within Kodi. So if you're a big fan of YouTube, you can get a YouTube application that links into Kodi, and now you can watch your YouTube through Kodi. It's an add-on for Kodi from YouTube, and that's just one example of many of a legitimate add-on that Kodi can make use of to further expand your media center capabilities within Kodi. So then not only are you linking in TV shows and movies and music and pictures from your computer or from your home network, but you've also now got it showcasing YouTube to you. So I'll show you some of the defaults to do this. This is just, this installation of Kodi I'm showing you is bland. There's nothing in it. Everything's been taken out. It's just straight up a brand new install of Kodi. So what you do is you go to System. Down here you go to Add-ons. And you got a few choices in here. Now, System and Search, you're not really going to worry about too much. The installation choices are where you're going to be looking for the most part. Now I could click on Install from Zip and it's going to want me to pick a zip location. I don't necessarily have a zip in place right now. We're going to deal with that perhaps later on, maybe in another episode. It's Install from Repository that you're going to be most concerned with. Now, you have a few subheadings within repository. So if you want to look at stuff that's weather-based, if you want to look at specific video add-ons, services, program add-ons, you can tell based on this list, what you may be looking for. Now, I want to say look for that YouTube add-on I was telling you about. YouTube being a service that shows you video, I may want to look for it in the video add-ons. Now here, we're looking at any add-on that is video-based that comes default with Kodi not already installed, but the link for them to be installed is already ready for you to go. Now, some of these may or may not be broken or kept up to date, because it's not on the shoulders of Kodi to make sure that that add-on is still working. It's on the shoulders of the person who made the add-on to make sure that it's still working, but Kodi is still displaying it to you in hopes that it's working, that you can make use out of it. Now, a few things come into play as to whether or not an add-on is going to work. Typically, it's going to be, has the add-on been updated since Kodi's been updated? So if you remember in episode 1, I showed you how to go and download Kodi. I mentioned how you can go to these links to download Kodi, and it showed that Kodi version 16.1 is the one you'd be downloading. Well, on the home page of the Kodi site, I pointed out that Kodi version 17 is currently in testing. Kodi version 17 will eventually come out, and when it's come out, there's a chance that add-ons that have been put into Kodi before version 7 comes out, those add-ons may no longer be compatible with Kodi. Changes made to Kodi from version 16.1 to version 17 may in fact break the functionality within the add-on. So, if the person who made the add-on isn't on top of things, and they just let their add-on go, then there's a chance the add-on may cease to function, or parts of it may cease to function. In a lot of cases, you'll see people that may have, let's say The Simpsons was a TV show that's finished airing last year, and there's 20 or 30 some odd seasons of Simpsons. Let's say somebody who is a huge Simpsons fan said, I want to make an add-on that does nothing but give you Simpsons. So they make the add-on, and knowing that, hey, Simpsons is no longer airing, I'll never need to add more stuff to this. I'm just going to make the add-on, it's going to point to the server, the server is going to give you the Simpsons, and I'm done. I tested it, it worked, it's there, everybody can use it. I'm now happy, you're happy, I'm going to go about my day. Well, 6 months to a year goes by, Kodi updates, this person who made their add-on stopped following the fact that Kodi updated maybe, or just didn't care anymore about their add-on, stopped looking at it, maybe they got out of the game completely, they didn't no longer care about Simpsons, their add-on is still out there for you to download, they're just not checking to make sure that it still works with the new Kodi. So Kodi updates, the add-on doesn't, the add-on breaks. This is important to know for any of you that are going out and buying these Android TV boxes, because these things are made months in advance. So you're probably going to get a TV box right now that has maybe Kodi version 16. And it's going to be preloaded with a bunch of add-ons. And you're going to get that thing home, you're going to unbox it, you're going to plug it into your TV, and you're going to realize really quickly that some or all or most or however many of those add-ons stop working. Just right out of the box, they're broken. Why? Because you have Kodi version 16 and Kodi version 16.1 is available. Those add-ons, what may have happened is the creator of them may have actually gone and updated them. So now, rather than you being ahead of the curve with a newer Kodi and an older add-on, you actually have an older Kodi and a newer add-on. And the newer add-on is expecting you to have the newer Kodi. So one of the first things I always recommend people do when they get one of these Android TV boxes is go log into the Android store, download and install the newest Kodi because it's readily available through the Play Store. Make sure you have the newest one front and center. Then start playing with the add-ons, because if the add-ons, if they've been all up to date, because they need to be in order for them to function in the new latest and greatest Kodi, and you got a box that was set up 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, because clearly these things are all sitting on a pallet somewhere in a storeroom waiting to be sold, they got to be made ahead of time. You're going to want to make sure you are as up to date as you can be. Now these boxes are trying to get better. Some of them actually offer, I've seen some of the newer menus recently where they put, option in the main menu to automatically go and try and update your Kodi for you, because it becomes a more user-friendly experience if you have a button that says click here to make sure you got the latest Kodi, rather than, hey, hands off, we sold you the damn thing, figure it out on your own. So some of them are getting better, but there's still a ways to go, and it's good to know when you're getting into the game with Kodi, how these two worlds interact between Kodi and add-ons and Kodi versions, and how new or how old things are play a big factor in here. Just keep that in mind, because it will be something you're going to encounter. Now back to this list of add-ons. I was mentioning how these are all the pre-installed ones on a fresh out of the box Kodi. So, if you want to have some iTunes related stuff in here, you can. A lot of stuff is going to be web-based. So if you're used to watching break videos or eBaum's World maybe from, say, something like Facebook, or just direct from their website, use College Humor. These things have created their own Kodi add-ons, so you can continue to watch what it is that they're offering you. Crunchyroll, pretty popular anime service. It's a paid-for service, a subscription service, so even though you have the add-on here, you'll still need to go to Crunchyroll, make an account, pay your monthly fee. Your login information would then need to be put into the settings of this add-on, and then when you load this add-on, it'll show you what it is you're looking for. So we're going to scroll down to the YouTube app I was mentioning. You keep going here. You guys can look at this menu there's your NHL Game Center, NFL. For you guys that are into sports, if you have subscriptions for these, you can definitely, just like I said for Crunchyroll, put it in there and you'll get access to it. But I'm just going to show you an easy, super common YouTube app. I believe it's in here. There we go. So click on YouTube, and we're going to click on install. It's going to tell you the download progress, tell you it's enabled. And this message down at the bottom, of course, is important to tell you that it's ready. So we're going to go back home. And because I installed a video add-on, we're going to go over to videos, add-ons. Suddenly we have something to play with. So I'm going to launch YouTube. It's going to prep your computer. We'll just say what the default view in the add-on is going to be. We'll use thumbnails because we like pictures. Episodes will be thumbnails because we like pictures. I'm going to pick English, and my country is Canada. Let's go through popular right now. Now, a new trailer for Star Wars Rogue One just came out. I say, hey, let's watch this. There you go. Suddenly, we're watching YouTube content through Kodi. So that's one example of how an add-on might function on this particular service. Now, there's more you can do within this add-on. Accessing the menu for the add-on itself gives you choices. You can access the menu different ways on different hardware. So me running this on Windows, I can right-click on it. I can, for a keyboard method, use the letter C and open up the same menu as I would by right-clicking on it and getting a right-click menu like you would if you right-clicked on anything in Windows. If you're using a touchscreen, usually you put your finger over top of the item, you press down and hold for approximately 2 to 3 seconds, you release your finger, and it will show you that same menu. Alternatively, if you got a TV box that came with a remote control, the remote control may have an actual menu button on it. So if you have this option highlighted for YouTube, you hit the menu button. Sometimes the menu button is called menu. Sometimes it's just an icon that looks like a series of horizontal lines representing, one on top of the other kind of structure, as if you were dealing with a one on top of the other menu. So how you get into this is going to vary from device to device, from operating system to operating system, but it's all going to get you to the same place. So if we go to add-on information, this is where you have the ability to get rid of it, You can launch it again from here if you didn't want to just left click on it or tap on it with your finger on a touchscreen. Make sure auto update's checked. That means it'll update on its own, which is good. If you uncheck that, you could control the update process if you really wanted to. You could disable it, you could remove it, and like I said, you could open it. Configure takes you into the settings. Now, if I close this, then you could have just right-clicked on it, or long pressed or press C and gone to settings. Now, these settings are actually pretty handy, and they're handy on each and every add-on you can get. There's going to be a lot of settings I'm going to show you on different add-ons that just make your life a whole lot easier. In this case, you may wish to display content at a varying video quality. So by default, when I came in here, it said 720p HD, which means if you have a 1080p television, you're not going to get true HD, true 1080p HD, you'll be getting 720p quality. It actually, when it launches the video on YouTube, it stops it at that quality. Now, it's a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing in the sense, or sorry, a bad thing in the sense that, if you want the clear picture of 1080p, or maybe 1440p, or 4K, or whatever the content has the ability of streaming up to, and your display or your television or your monitor has the ability to display up to, you're going to want to have them as close to the same as possible for the best picture quality. However, the more impressive the picture quality, the harder it is to stream it. So by having a default at 720, you're still getting a pretty damn good picture, definitely better than standard definition television, but not so crisp and clear in quality that it's eating up your internet bandwidth. So if you have somebody else watching something on YouTube on a different device, you wouldn't be making their stream stutter, or they wouldn't be making your stream stutter. If you have really weak internet at home, or live maybe outside of a big urban area, and you don't have, maybe you're dealing with satellite internet, whatever the case may be, if your internet is weaker, you're going to want to make sure you're not going for the best quality video every time, or you're going to be dealing with stuttering and lagging and buffering, and it may not even load. And then you are going to perceive that as being, wow, Kodi sucks. Why am I even doing this? I'm going to go back to TV. This is kind of why. So these settings within the add-ons are important to come into and take a peek and make sure they're configured the way you want them to be. So I could have picked this, in which case it carries that out and it straight up asks me what the video quality should be. So let's try and experiment with that. We'll go back to YouTube, popular. We'll pick the same trailer. Boom. It's now asking me which quality I want. So if my internet really sucked, but I really still wanted to see this, I could say, give me the crappiest one you have, and this is what I'm going to get. But at least by going into the settings now, I have that choice. Whereas had I left this at 720p, maybe my internet is still too weak to use 720p. And as a result, it's going to be stuttering and lagging, and I'm going to be like, wow, Kodi sucks. Why am I using this? Who is this mic guy? He keeps telling me to use Kodi. So that's something to keep in mind. Folder location, this is, you can sign in into your subscriptions. You can have your account added into here so that, if you have favorite channels that you go through, that you subscribe to on YouTube, they'll show up in your YouTube on Kodi. They'll be under, showing your subscription, your sign in. This is how you'd sign out. So when I had it open before, this is where you would come in, sign in. Must enable two applications so that YouTube is functioning properly. Okay, so this is a situation where it's wanting you to go to this particular URL, type in this particular code, and what it'll do is it'll sync your account to the YouTube add-on within Kodi. Something else that Track does as well, so which is going to be a later video. Track is a very cool integration within Kodi. Okay, so that's one example of having an add-on direct at your fingertips with an installation of Kodi, clean out of the box. No fuss, no muss. They've given it to you. I could come back in here, I could go to add-ons again, take a look at this, and maybe I'm a big fan of that World Star Hip Hop. I'm a big fan of, say, Twitch. Twitch is huge right now. Here's Vimeo. There's Vice, the add-on Vivo if you're big for music videos. See, there's Twitch if you like watching live streaming video games. There's tons and tons and tons of stuff in here just on the default. However, when you're buying yourself an Android TV box, you're going to be given many other add-ons and repositories for video content that falls into the more gray area of legality. So I'm going to show you how to find that stuff. And we're going to use Google. Google is a very handy place to be. And even when I don't know what I'm looking for, I know I go to Google. So let's say we want the top 10 Kodi add-ons of 2016. Oh, better yet, this guy's going to give me the top 20. Okay, so this is a good way to figure out if the add-ons that you're using have kind of fallen off the popularity list. Because some cases an add-on's been trumped by a new add-on, and the one that you're used to using, as it becomes less popular, there's a chance it may no longer be supported, and it may no longer get updates, and it might start failing slowly until it finally dies off. So in a situation where you want the the least amount of problems within an add-on, you want the one that's most frequently supported by the add-on creator. So finding the most popularly used stuff can be an asset in that task of yours. So we'll scroll through here and just see what we got. And anybody with a little bit of experience with Kodi is probably going to recognize some of these. Anybody without experience with Kodi, trust me, you're going to start to recognize these as you use Kodi, as some of these ones that I'm going to scroll through here are the most popular that there is, and some of them have been popular for many years, as Kodi's been around for a long time. Under a different name, of course. XBMC was its original name, but Kodi is now the title for it. So we're going to go through this list. We got add-on installer. This will be something I'm going to try and touch base on in this particular video if we don't run out of time. It's super handy. But we're going to go through the individual ones. Exodus. Exodus is by far the most popular add-on in Kodi to date, right now, bar none. You can see in here it mentions how it was created by the group that made Genesis, that was, it's now defunct. Genesis was the go-to add-on. Genesis, the group that created them, a group known as Lambda, they ceased all support on Genesis, and then they came out with Exodus. So anybody who's still using Genesis, if you've been experiencing problems as of late, this is why you should upgrade. Get rid of your Genesis, install your Exodus. Same functionality, same content, more content now actually that they're putting everything in Exodus and not so much in Genesis. But so that's one choice. This is the really good, one-stop shop for TV shows and movies. Velocity. I don't use it so much these days. I'm using it more as my backup to Exodus. That's the thing with Kodi and add-on usage. Whereas subscribing to television service may mean it's always up, always operational, barring no unforeseen server outage. The amount of problems that take place maybe on your subscription service to television won't be as frequent, or hopefully not as frequent when you're spending as much money as you are on them. Sometimes a Kodi add-on can have a problem. Sometimes it's the whole add-on. Sometimes it's a specific server within the add-on. Sometimes it's a specific TV show within the add-on. Sometimes it's a specific episode of that TV show. So there's a kind of a mantra I use with Kodi. Though it's basically 100% free 100% of the time, is maybe not 100% reliable 100% of the time. So you can anchor on to one add-on, really like that add-on, and use that add-on 99% of the time for all your needs. But if that add-on ever fails you once, you may want to make sure you've got a backup add-on you can go to. And that's the case for something like Velocity for me. It's sort of my backup to Exodus because I've had so much success with Exodus. When the time comes that it's missing an episode or a server's down, I move into my backups. And I usually have a few backups available. It all depends on what it is you want to use Kodi for. If all you want to use Kodi for is sports, Exodus won't necessarily be your location, and in turn, neither would Velocity. So you wouldn't use Velocity to be your backup for a sports add-on because Velocity isn't going to be the place you want to go for sports necessarily. So I normally have an add-on for topic A, some backups, an add-on for topic B, some backups, etc. So these two are kind of the same, it's just this one is more popular. Phoenix. Phoenix is an interesting beast. A lot of people online crave and rave about Phoenix. For the longest time, I didn't really see the rave. I didn't understand why it was so good until just recently I realized that it has a dependency in it where Phoenix can offer you all this content, but guess what? None of it works. Nothing you click on, nothing I clicked on, no channel I clicked on ever functioned in Phoenix, and everybody online is saying Phoenix is the greatest. Well, it turns out Phoenix requires you to install a secondary add-on so that it can link to it and get you what it's trying to display. So it might say I've got these 5 sports channels. I click on all 5 of them don't work. But I go and grab this extra add-on it's telling me I need. It makes those 5 channels now work. Suddenly, I'm liking Phoenix a hell of a lot more, I'll tell you that. Alright. YouTube, we saw that. C-Cloud is a live TV channel streaming add-on. So you can get things from, CNN, CW, potentially HBO, potentially any number of channels. It's just depending on what they're offering. And the thing about live TV channel add-ons, however, is that they can be very, very fickle. And one might be the hottest shit on the planet this month, and within 3 weeks, every server that it's operating on might die, or channels might start falling off just because of the way that content is being fed into the service or into the add-on. Because it's a constant stream, it can be a problematic situation. Whereas something more like Exodus, where nothing is live, everything's already been archived into a server, you're just calling on stuff that's already there. You're not calling on stuff as it's trying to happen. So keep that in mind. If you're looking to replace your television service, you're doing it because you're basically bringing in a video on demand way of replacing your TV viewing, not taking just a whole bunch of live TV channels and expecting it to be the same as it would be if you just paid for TV service, because it may not be. A lot of add-ons are trying. They're trying their damnedest. C-Cloud comes and goes and comes and goes, and they keep trying, and they keep, a server will die, and then they'll bring it back, a new iteration, then a server will die. And the thing is, the more people that use it, the more people chew up the bandwidth. And as the bandwidth gets used on the end of the person who's hosting it, then it starts coming out slower and slower, and suddenly everybody's looking at it, is seeing it, and it's stuttering and buffering and stream lag and disconnections, and suddenly the channel will stop, you have to click on it again. So I'm telling you this because it's important to note that while Kodi add-ons can offer you live TV, it's not always 100% reliable. These are pretty straightforward MP3 streams. TuneIn Radio, awesome application to get live radio stations from all over the world. This was something I featured in episode 1 when I showed you my Kodi build. And then here's page 2. There's Steam for you. There's Twitch, something I mentioned just recently in this episode for viewing game streams. SoundCloud, Spotlight, ROM Collection. This is how you can attempt to play games through your Kodi, or at least one example of how you can do that. USA TV Now is another add-on for viewing live TV channels. This requires you to go to the US TV Now website, make a free account, use your login information in the add-on Kodi, in the Kodi add-on for US TV Now, so you can actually view it. FTV, I've never made any use out of. Xmovies 8, I prefer Exodus. This could be one that you consider like a backup to Exodus. And Sports Devil was an add-on that was pretty heavy for being able to view sports as they were airing live. Not always the best quality, but it's an option that you have available too. There's a couple of them out there. Alright, so that's a situation where you're like, hey, I want some add-ons. What add-on am I going to get? Let's go to the web and see what the latest and greatest stuff is, and I'll start playing with it. Just keep that in mind. This list will change year to year. Some of them will stay, some of them will eventually die. Like I said, Genesis used to be the hottest shit on the planet with Kodi, and now it's Exodus, so times do change. So let's say I want a particular add-on known as Evolve, Kodi add-on. So I'm now going to show you the steps you need to take to get the add-on installed into Kodi. And there's a couple ways that these add-ons install depending on how it's been offered to you. So what you do once you've gone here and said, let's say Evolve is in this list, you say, I want Evolve. So you can go here now, back to Google, do a search for Evolve. This guy right here is an amazing individual. SEO Michael is the guy I direct all my friends and family to when I'm trying to tell them how to install their own add-ons, because this guy gives a great step-by-step install instruction on how to do this. There are others. TVaddons.ag is a good location. Kodi Tips is another good location. There are clearly a lot that have shown up in my search result. I tend to default to this guy. My name is Mike, his name is Mike. Maybe I'm biased, but I think he does a damn good job in his description. So we're going to go to his link. Here's the Evolve add-on. Now as you scroll down, he'll tell you how long ago he updated his article, what version you're looking at, whether or not this add-on you're trying to get needs other add-ons to work. So in a situation where I mentioned Phoenix, everybody said, oh, Phoenix is the greatest thing ever, and I could never get anything to work within Phoenix, because I didn't realize Phoenix had a required add-on. There was another add-on I needed to download so that Phoenix could work. So in this situation, if you were to install Evolve and didn't make sure you had some of the stuff within Evolve, or all the stuff in Evolve, just won't work. Here's a description of what it can get you. Using different submenus within Evolve. If you went to the Goliath menu, you got this stuff. If you went to the Kraken menu, this stuff, and so forth and so on. Then you move down into him telling you how to get a hold of this add-on. So he's telling you straight up, you need to go to Kodi, System File Manager, Add Source, select None, type this in exactly, enter a name, this. So we're going to go through this. Kodi, System, he wants you to do what exactly? System File Manager. Something to keep note of in Kodi is that coming to System here, File Manager is not at the first thing you see in this list. You'll see add-ons, but you won't see File Manager. The submenu within System has File Manager, so I tend to point people there. It's the quickest way to find it. It's File Manager. He then says Add Source, and then click on None. So we're going to add source, click on None. He wants us to type something in exactly. Now in the case of being on a system where you can just quick copy and paste, that's all I'm going to do here. Copy paste, get rid of that space that I brought in with it, click Done. He says name it whatever you want. Sometimes they default to a certain name. I'm just going to take the default name, hit OK. Couldn't retrieve the directory. Is there something wrong maybe? Maybe I typed something wrong. Probably not, because I copied and pasted it. Let's take a look. No, it looks good. So this could be a situation where the location that you would get Kodi, or sorry, not Kodi, the location that you would get the Evolve add-on from may no longer be pulled from this URL. So this is a situation where, you know what, it's not going to work this way. He may not have updated his information. So we're going to back out and see what the next guy tells me. What's Kodi Tips telling me? Kodi Tips is telling me the exact same thing. Clearly it's not working. So we could try the next guy. He's telling me the exact same thing. So this is a situation where, you know, if everybody's telling me to go to one place to get this thing and the thing's not working, their server may either be down right now, maybe I could try again tomorrow, or they may have taken this project of theirs might be offline indefinitely or for X number of days or weeks or months. So at this point in time, we're not going to look at that particular add-on. So you know what, let's pick something at random out of this list of 20. So we're going to say Exodus, being the most popular thing that there is right now. Might as well start with that one. So once again, I'm going to find my buddy Mike here, click on him. Once again, he's going to tell you, you know, when it was updated. It's pretty recent. This is the version they're at. This is what was fixed during the version. Supports this, yada, yada, yada. This is how you get it. So, same thing. I'm just going to copy this link. We're going to try him out. Now, I'm going to call it something else. I'm going to call this one test, because I've actually already added this particular repository into Kodi. You can see it right up here where it says Fusion. I'm going to call it test just to show you how this works. Name it test, say done. There's test. Next step. Highlight the box, pick the name. That's where I picked test instead of Fusion. Go to your home screen, now click on System, Add-ons, Install from Zip. Home screen, System, Add-ons, Install from Zip. What else does he want me to do? Select Fusion, or in my case, test, because I named it test. Select XMB repos, English, and we'll stop there for now. So here's test. It goes in the same list that you would have your local hard drive info as well as your server info if you're running a server at home or a network. Test. You say go to XBMC repos. Where next? English, and then pick repo exodus xxx zip. English, repo exodus. The xxx represented the version because as you can see here, he said x.x.x.zip. This is 1.0.1.zip. He's just saying it's going to basically be the same even if they change this from 101 to 102 to 203, whatever. So we're going to click on that. Down here it's going to tell me the add-on's ready. It also put a dependency add-on in place. So in the situation of both Evolve and Phoenix, where I mentioned if you don't have these extra add-ons in place, the parent or the core add-on is not going to work. This is the situation of Exodus, the creator of Exodus being smart enough to do that for you, so you're not hunting for more than one add-on. What else does he tell us? Wait for the add-on enabled notification. We saw that. Install from repo, select the repo, video add-ons, install. Okay, so this is a situation where we're not going to necessarily need to do this part because it may already be in place. Let's take a look. So if I go to videos, video add-ons, it's not here yet. So the rest of what he said holds true. Go to system, add-ons. Now we found test by going to install from zip. What it did was it added a repository. So we have to go to the repository. Here's your Exodus repository. Video add-ons, Exodus. So if I tab back out, he literally said, install from repository, Exodus, video add-ons, Exodus. And I click on install. Sorry. Exodus, install. Downloading, it's updating, add-on enabled. It says enabled up here, enabled down there. Now if I go back to videos and add-ons, I now have Exodus. So, why is Exodus so damn good? Exodus is so damn good because it basically has everything. It's very rare you're going to want to search for a movie or a television show in history that hasn't made its way into the Exodus archives. There's a couple add-ons that are on the same level as this. I use One Channel, also known as PrimeWire. It's an alternate add-on that you can use. It also has basically everything in it. So I could come here and I could say, what are people watching? So anybody who had witnessed my very first episode on this channel, I showcased the build I was making. I mentioned how I made menu systems, and those menu systems pointed into Exodus. This is why, because Exodus does offer so much. So if you recall, I had the people watching widget going across my screen in the movies and TV shows section. This is where it was looking. This is people watching of Exodus. So you could have anything from the latest movies that are currently in the theater. Sometimes these are screeners that somebody who works at a movie theater managed to get their hands on a very high quality copy and leaked it. Now it's here. Sometimes it's somebody sitting in a movie theater with a video camera on their shoulder and they record the movie while they're in there. And sometimes it's in here. Now, typically, when you click on one of these, it should tell you the perceived quality of the video, to the best of its ability anyway. So we'll do that. We'll take an example of, say, we'll do the Bourne movie. So I click on the Bourne movie, a few things happen here. It's going to start searching to see how many different providers out there in the world Exodus links to that hosts this movie. It does the search for a few seconds, sometimes upwards to 30 seconds, and then it displays this list to you. Now, what is this list and what are you looking at? It took me a little while to kind of decipher this list, just because I didn't know why I was looking at prompt file from Watch Free, and then if I scroll down a little bit further, I might see prompt file by somebody else. Or here's, the video, vidsy. There's multiple for the same thing, and I was trying to figure out, if one works, do they all work? Who's really hosting this? So I'm going to have better examples for you to break that down later. From my understanding, though, what is happening is, I believe this first name down this column is basically a host website. So I could potentially do a search on Google, for Watch Free, and I'll bet you there's a website out there called Watch Free, and I'll bet you it's hosting Jason Bourne. Now, Exodus is neat in the fact that it doesn't necessarily host its own content. It looks to see who's hosting the content, and it pulls in all the results. So Watch Free is hosting it, Toon Movies hosting it, Rainerland is hosting it, and Xvideos is hosting it. So it's basically scraping the data from these websites that are hosting it. And they're hosting it off of these servers in this quality, potentially. Sometimes it'll say HD and it's not quite HD. Sometimes it'll say standard definition and it looks like it's a lot better than you would think standard definition to be. And then it gives you a perceived time. This time will fluctuate usually after you've launched the file or watched it in its entirety. It may change to the actual time. So this may not be a 2 hour and 3 minute movie. It may actually be like 1:50, and you might see it update after you've clicked on the link. Now, what I always tell people when they're using Kodi is that not every one of these links are going to be good for you. Some of these links are actually going to be pretty shitty. Some of these links are servers that are hosted halfway across the globe, and they may not give you the best stream quality. They may not even connect. And it's a reality of using Kodi. When you have a list as large as this of options to select, this is a list of this size and magnitude because the locations that are trying to host this are all over the place. If they only gave you one, and it was in China, and you were in central Canada, you might have a bad time trying to stream from that one. So these are your choices. What I try to tell people is that you're going to start to learn these names. You're going to start to recognize them, especially if you use the same add-on a lot. Me personally, I don't tend to have a good time picking anything with prompt file in the name. I just don't. In an add-on known as One Channel or PrimeWire, when you sort their list of servers, you can sort it based on the number of people that have viewed it, because it actually, in this line, will say, bracket, view count, bracket. And prompt file is always the one at the top. It's always the most views. It's the most popular selection. Not for me. It doesn't work for me. I could click on Jason Bourne in the One Channel add-on, and prompt file might show 500,000 viewers. Meanwhile, I can look at stream-in and it might show 500. And stream-in might work for me way more than prompt file will. So keep that in mind. You'll learn these names, and you'll learn the ones that are good, and you'll learn the ones that are bad. So once you get over that hurdle of experiencing which ones fail for you and which ones succeed for you, and you start to learn those, your experience with Kodi gets a hell of a lot better, because you start glazing over the list and going, okay, this one, or glazing over and going, okay, this one. So suddenly you just scroll down 29 items really, really quickly to get to the one that you know is going to be more beneficial to you, rather than going, click on this one, did it work? No. Okay, click on this one, did it work? No. All right, no, 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 no. Okay, this one works, good. So then the next time you go to a movie that says VOD locker, excuse me, VOD locker is a choice, boom, you just go straight to it. It's going to work for you, generally. I mean, sometimes they don't. But getting a 90% success rate on, say, this one, as opposed to a 90% failure rate on this one, is definitely something to make a mental note of. So we're going to back out of here. Back out of here. So these are the different ways you can look for your content. Genre here, based on people, if you want to look for a certain actor. People watching, most popular, most voted, yada, yada, yada. Down at the very bottom is search. So you could do a search for the title you wanted. So in here, I could say, Jungle Book. Boom. Every Jungle Book movie, basically, ever made, or every movie that has somewhat reference to jungle or book, or jungle and book, and in varying languages, are going to show up in here. So here's the latest one. You can tell by the year, the art, and here's some of the older ones. When I said this thing has access to pretty much everything, I wasn't lying. This is a 1942 movie alongside a 2016 movie. Clearly, this thing archives a lot of content. So we're going to back it here. We're going to try, say, TV shows. And we'll say, hey, what are people watching today in the world of TV? Some of the most popular shit in the market these days. Mr. Robot, Stranger Things, Orange is the New Black, Game of Thrones. People are always talking about these shows. Scroll down a little bit more. You got some of the older stuff. Friends, it was hugely popular. It's still here. Breaking Bad, everything and anything. There's The Simpsons. So, I mean, you can find pretty much anything you want to in here. Some, really obscure stuff, maybe not so much. There was a point in time where, some of these add-ons weren't so vast, because the people making them, they're tech heads. If you think about a tech head, you don't necessarily think the tech head's going to want to watch Kick Boss on TLC. So chances are good he's not going to give you seasons and episodes of Kick Boss, because he's not getting it. He's not watching it. He's got no interest in it. He would be the guy giving you Game of Thrones, right? Or The Walking Dead, or Arrow. Shows that would that would interest him more. So that's when those series suddenly were the easiest to find. But as this whole ecosystem grew, the people handling it, involved more people, and those people had different interests. And suddenly they're like, hey, why do you only get to have your shows on this server? Why can't I have access to my shows for the people that like the shows that I like, or the movies, or the music? So suddenly it grew, and it's grown into quite the beast that you see today. So, Exodus, just like YouTube, has its own settings section, one that's also equally as important to want to take a peek at when you want to work with Exodus on a regular basis. So I showed you the more archaic method of getting a stream to work in Exodus. You find what you want to watch, you click on it, you wait a few seconds, big list of servers hits you in the face, and you're tasked with trying to figure out which one's going to work. Well, coming into here, you have some choices. You could say go to providers, and where I said there are some things that I don't necessarily have an easy time getting any success with. Like I mentioned, I did like pod locker. Maybe I don't like put locker. I don't want to see it anymore because every time it shows me anything with put locker, it never fucking works. So bam, no longer going to be in the list. It's not even going to look for it there. I can hit OK. Next time I do a search for a movie, that big list of servers you saw would now exclude anything with this name in it. I'll put that back. Another thing you could do, here's the watch free that basically housed all those other servers like, VidMe and PodLocker and VidZ and all those other names. I was telling you guys you should look for. So this is basically the web page that's hosting it. The other thing you could do, something I've started doing, is in the playback tab, and playback tab is basically, from my experience, in a lot of these add-ons, it may not be its own tab, it might be, say, a playback heading within a tab of, like, say, general. Maybe this says playback, and all these settings you see here are actually listed under here. But within playback, and it's going to be different for everybody, and some add-ons it's put a little dot here maybe to have the video autoplay. Well, in this case, they've hidden it under default action. So by default action, when you click on a video link, it takes you to the directory listing or the server list that you saw. If I change this to dialog, you would give me a message box. Change it to autoplay, however, what it'll do is it'll actually go through that server list, find the first one of the best quality possible that it can actually get to work, and immediately start streaming it for you. It's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing in the sense that you don't have to deal with that list. It's a bad thing in the sense that what it does is it'll try and sample the server connection for you really quickly and decide if that server is right for you. And it might be right for you in that very split second that it went to do sampling, but after a minute of trying to stream the video, it might start stuttering and having issues. So maybe that server is not right for you. And in some add-ons, that's the only server it's going to give you. So knowing how to come into settings and turn off autoplay is just as beneficial as knowing how to go into settings and turn it on, because you don't want to be restricted to a server that's never going to work and you have no way around it. So you have to know how to come back in here, turn off autoplay, set it back to the way it was, which would have been directory, so you can actually pick from a list again and just pick the ones you know that work rather than have this pick one that may not work. Now in the case of Exodus, what I've noticed is setting it to autoplay may give you a different server every time you click on that file, which is handy because if you click on a file and it picks server A automatically for you, and within 2 minutes of watching the video, server A is not being very nice to you, you can hit stop, click the video again, and the next time it tries to find a server for you, it might find server D. Suddenly server D is going to play it for you. It loads up automatically. You're not looking at a list, and it plays just fine. So while one add-on may always look at the same server every time, Exodus somehow changes the order in which it searches, maybe? I'm not entirely sure what it's doing in the background, but clicking on the same video more than once doesn't necessarily take you to the same server when it's trying to auto-select it for you. The only other things you can do in here are limit your max quality. So if you don't want to watch everything in 1080p because you can't stream 1080p without it stuttering and buffering and lagging, you can bring it down a notch to say 720p. bring it down even further if you want to say 480p and get some standard definition. What I normally do is I'll leave it at 720 because the fewer times my video pauses to try and catch up on a download, the happier I am. And 720 is still pretty damn good quality. What I also do though is I'll say I want to add standard definition options into my auto playlist so it's not only looking for high definition, because if there's only one link in high def and 85 links in standard def, and it goes to test the high def link and it doesn't think I can view it because I'm not going to have a good time, it's just going to be stuttering and buffering, it's going to skip that one high def link, not give me any other links, and it's just going to tell me I can't find anything, and then I'm not watching that show at all. So by putting a dot beside SD hosters are included in the autoplay, when it's passed over the HD list, it starts going to the standard def stuff and starts showcasing that to me. And sometimes the standard def stuff is actually not that bad. Some cases, the standard def video quality is actually pretty damn close to 720p. But because the audio might be offered in, 2-channel audio, 2.0, as opposed to 5.1 surround sound or 7.1 surround sound, because the audio is brought to you in a reduced quality in order to make the stream not lag by not sending you more data. The SD quality ones can actually be visually quite appealing. You just may not get, gunfire coming from behind your head if you've got 5 or 7 speakers set up in your house. Other settings, resume playback, when playback starts, that kind of thing. In the general section, there were choices that you could pick from in here as well. You can change things. Providers, we already discussed. Accounts, this is where you'd authorize your tracked add IMDb accounts to all these other services that might require you to log in to use them. Like I said, from what I can tell on the server list, it goes to a website that's hosting this stuff and pulls it into Kodi. So if that website requires you to be an active user, whether it's a paid subscription or a free subscription, using the website to get the content, you would need to log in. So using the Kodi add-on for the content, you still need to log in. Moving over here, see if there's more menus. Doesn't look like there is. So we're just going to say we'll leave autoplay on, and we're going to test that out. Now I'm not going to let whatever I have load up. I'm not going to have it load up and play for a long time. I'm not looking to get any kind of strikes against my YouTube account or whatnot, but I do want to show you the difference between it loading up a list and it going direct to the episode after it finds an item in the list for you. Hopefully you're not picking up on this vacuum as somebody's trying to vacuum outside my apartment. If it's too much of an issue, I may have to redo this segment of the video. Okay, as you can see, it pinpointed a server it wants. Boom. Immediate playback of the video. I'm going to stop it just to get out of it for now to avoid any issue. But that's an example of how you can select an item, and by manipulating the add-on and how the add-on gives you the content by going to the settings menu, the interaction within the actual add-on becomes a lot simpler for you. So I'm going to back out a little bit. Now you're going to see some of these menus within Exodus are appearing to you differently. Sometimes it's a list, sometimes it's a bunch of pictures, and you go into it, and then it might be a list again, or it might be another picture, or no, it's a list again, or you can change this. You can actually have it so that it showcases to you in a different way. So in this particular list, for example, it's got the list here, synopsis of it over here, item over here, air date, episode number, so forth. If I was to move over to the side and bring up my side panel, you can tell it's here because there's this little arrow. The side panel has a view setting, so I can change the way I'm viewing this content. Thumbnails. Thumbnails were the default view for, say, this, I believe. Yep, thumbnail. which is why you were seeing the image here, but then in here you're seeing this. So you can always just change it back to whatever view you prefer. Just another example of how you can customize Kodi to display things on your terms. Okay, so I've covered the different ways you're going to want to research to find the add-ons that you're looking for. I've showed you how to go ahead and get a detailed step-by-step instruction online on how to install the add-on that you're looking for. I've showed you how to make use of the add-on once you've got it installed, and how to edit the settings of the add-on so that it perhaps operates the way that you're looking for it to operate. I think that's a good place to stop in this first episode. I'm probably going to have to go back now and make sure that Cleaning Lady didn't just screw up the whole damn episode, and I'm going to have to recapture this all. But we'll see how this goes. So that's episode 1, or part 1 of Kodi Addons, how to do things on your own. I think in the next episode I'm going to cover how some of this stuff has become even more simplified, and we'll take it from there. Thanks for watching, guys.